Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our latest Railbookers webinar. I can see that we've got some people who are still signing in as I speak, so what we'll do is we'll just pause for a minute or so just to allow everyone who's still signing in right now time to get comfortable, get settled down, get the audio working, and we'll start the webinar in around about 1 to 2 minutes time. So if you are in the middle of making a quick cup of coffee or a cup of tea, you've got time to finish that off, and we'll start in around about 1 minute or so's time. Thanks very much. Once again, I hope everybody is settled down and comfortable. I can just see we have a message from Peter, just asking for another 30 seconds or so while he gets his audio working. So no problem, Peter. Thank you. Thanks for letting us know. And seeing as you asked so nicely, of course, we'll let you have another 30 seconds or so. So we'll start the webinar in around about 30, 40 seconds time, once hopefully the audio is working for Peter and everybody is settled down and comfortable. So T minus 30 to 40 seconds or so, and we'll begin then. Okay, I think it's time to start now. So hopefully, Peter, your audio is working and everybody else is signed in and comfortable too. Welcome to our latest Railbookers webinar, 5 Scenic Lake Holidays for 2020 and 2021. So my name is Matt. It's my pleasure to be with you on the webinar today. Thanks everyone for joining us. Now, before we get started, just wanted to let you know that there are a couple of free handouts that you can download and take advantage of. In fact, at least one of those I will be referring to in the course of the webinar today. So if you'd like to download those, please feel free to do so at any point whatsoever. I will try and give you a quick reminder before we wrap things up this morning. Also, if you would like to ask questions at any time, please do. There is a questions box which you can see on your screen. It should look a little bit like that one. If you'd like to send through any questions about anything we cover in the webinar, please feel free. Or indeed anything Railbookers related that's not particularly about this webinar, please feel free to send them through too. We always love to hear from you. It could be, it could be holidays you're planning on traveling on. It could be topics or themes you'd like to see us cover on a future webinar, whatever it might be. Please feel free to send your questions through. If we've got time, I'll try and see if I can pick maybe one or two to answer quickly at the end of the webinar today. But if I don't pick yours, don't despair. One of the team will reach out to you and we'll make sure that we get in touch with absolutely everyone who's submitted a question to make sure that all of those questions are answered by hook or by crook. We'll get around to every single one. So what we're going to look at in today's presentation is a number of great scenic lake holidays, which could be for travel towards the end of this year, could be for travel next year too. So for 2020 or 2021, a number of great holidays, and what they've all got in common is they've all got some wonderful experiences next to one of the wonderful lakes that we have in Europe. I must mention before we start off that we do have some special offers taking place at the moment where you can make some substantial savings. So as you can see here, you can save up to £500 per couple on a number of different holidays. We've got a number of Switzerland holidays where you can save £300 per couple, same for Scotland, France as well. Italy, you can save £400 per couple, and a number of our Italian lakes and Swiss mountains, some of which may well be contained in the webinar today, you can save up to £500 per couple as well. So there really are some great savings to be had. If you want to find out more, you can visit the special offers page on our website. That's railbookers.co.uk/special-offers, or just click on the big tab that says special offers on it. Either will work, and you can find out more. So before we start looking at these Italian lake holidays, just a quick recap or introduction on who we are and what we do. For anyone who's not familiar with Railbookers, perhaps hasn't travelled with us before or hasn't attended one of these webinars before. So why travellers love travelling with Railbookers? Well, there's a number of different reasons for that. One of them is that rail travel obviously offers a number of bucket list experiences for special occasions, and that could be anything from, perhaps you've always wanted to travel by train coast to coast across the USA. Maybe you've always wanted to head over to Venice in style to celebrate a special occasion on board the Venice Simplon Orient Express, or perhaps you've wanted to visit one or two places that you've always wanted to travel to, but for whatever reason you've never quite got around to it. Whatever the reason might be, lots of opportunity to tick those boxes off by train. And train travel also offers unparalleled freedom and flexibility. So what do I mean by that? Well, really, you can travel on any day pretty much for the vast majority of the holidays that we offer, any day of the week, all year round. So whenever you're free, whenever you want to go, that's when your holiday can start. And as many of you will testify as well, I'm sure, traveling by train is also the most scenic way to travel. You really do see a lot more when you're traveling at ground level, particularly for slightly longer distances, maybe if you're traveling from one country to another, or even traveling in the same country. Think about traveling between different states in the USA, for example, or traveling across a country like, Switzerland or Austria, where the landscape's going to change an awful lot. And what that means is the travel, it's not just a means of getting from A to B anymore, although of course it still does fill that function, doesn't it? But it's also an integral and enjoyable part of the holiday. So it's more than just a way of traveling. It's an important part of the overall holiday itself. All of the itineraries that you see here are customizable. So what that means is you might like the general idea, but wish it was slightly longer or slightly shorter. You might want to stay longer in one destination than we have advertised. You might want to add a destination into the holiday that isn't actually included. Whatever it might be, all of those ideas and more are perfectly possible. All you need to do really is let us know how you'd like to customize it to make sure it's the perfect trip for you. On pretty much all of these holidays too, it's just a small deposit to secure the holiday and secure the price that you've seen it at as well. And then you pay the remaining balance later, around about 90 days before travel. So if you're looking at traveling next year, for example, as many of you are, then it's just a small deposit to secure that now, and you pay the remaining balance much closer to the actual trip itself. And really the key message is, I suppose, whether you're looking at traveling in 2 days' time or 2 years' time, our holidays go at any time, any day, anywhere. So if the train goes there, then so do we. We do also have a maximum flexibility offer in place at the moment for both new and existing reservations, that you can change your travel dates or postpone your trip at any point up until 5 days prior to departure for new reservations. And for existing reservations, you can reschedule at any point up until 5 days prior to departure too. And that's if you book by September the 30th. You also benefit from 24-hour support from our global team. So that's not just here in London, but also our colleagues in Sydney, Australia, Toronto, Canada, and 2 offices in the USA, Beverly, which is just outside of Boston on the East Coast, and Laguna Hills over in California too. Now here is one of those great handouts that I was referring to earlier. So if you haven't downloaded a copy and you like the look of this, then please feel free to do so. This great map shows some of the main high-speed rail routes and rail lines across Europe. And the different colours, well, they all refer to either different operators or different types of train. And one of the confusing things can be is that all of these different operators and companies, they don't always communicate with each other, for want of a better word, as well as they could do. They certainly don't always all release their trains tickets for booking at the same time. They don't always release them when they're supposed to either. And it can be a little bit confusing when there's more than one way of traveling between 2 destinations to know which is the best one for you. How do you know which is the most direct option, the most scenic option, for example? So really what we aim to do is take all the mystery, all the complexity out of rail travel for you. And one way that we do that is by working directly with all of the main rail operators in Europe, North America, and beyond. So that includes, for example, our good friends and colleagues at Trenitalia, Deutsche Bahn, SNCF, Renfe, who are Spanish railways, Swiss Railways, Eurostar, where so many of our trips begin, of course, and across the pond with Via Rail in Canada, Amtrak, and many, many more too as well. And that allows us to do a couple of things. One is it means we always have access to the best available prices for you, so that's very important. And two is that not only that, but it means that we can advertise all of the holidays that you see up to 2 years in advance, which is crucial, really, particularly if you're not looking at traveling in the short term. Maybe you've got a special occasion coming up that you'd like to celebrate in a year's time. Maybe it's just a really popular time to travel and you want to make sure that you can confirm your space and confirm your holiday. And that means that we can advertise all these holidays and you can secure it at this year's prices. So you're not going to be affected by any price increases that may happen within the next 2 years as well. Now, a question that we are getting asked at the moment is how are rail operators maintaining a safe environment for travel? Obviously, for very obvious reasons, we're getting asked that. And there's a number of different answers to that question, really. One of them is that they are requiring facial coverings, both in stations and on trains for all passengers and staff. In many cases, they're stopping the sale of food and drink on board trains as well. So you can bring food and drink on board with you, but a lot of the time, it's not available for purchase on board. In many cases too, they're changing the existing seating configuration and seating layouts to allow for that important social distancing. Already existing cleaning and sanitation measures have been increased, and where possible, they're trying to carry out contactless ticket control, again, with the emphasis on social distancing wherever possible. And I can vouch for this motley collection of individuals on the screen here because these are my colleagues, or some of them at any rate. And each year we're lucky enough to be able to try out one of the particular holidays that we sell. And that's great because we get to experience the destinations, of course, visit the hotels that we feature, try out the sightseeing activities, and of course the rail journeys too. But also that does mean that if you have a particular question about a holiday or a destination, the good news is that there'll always be someone available who's probably done that exact trip or certainly been to that destination, who can help you out with a little bit more advice and help if you need it. So as we like to say, we know because we go. Okay, that's the introduction out of the way. So let's start looking at some great holidays, all of which feature some wonderfully scenic lakes. And the first one, well, the title really explains it all, really. This is, we call this one the best of the Italian lakes. And this is a 10-day holiday. Now, on this particular holiday, it does say that the journey begins with flights to and from Zurich. If you don't want to fly, that is absolutely no problem at all. If you find this version of the holiday on our website, you'll see there's a version traveling by train to and from Zurich, which should be a journey by Eurostar from London to Paris, which is 2 hours, 20 minutes, an easy change in Paris, and then around about a 4-hour direct TGV Lyria train from Paris through to Zurich. So can be done by air or rail, whichever you prefer. So after one night in Zurich, we take a very great scenic train journey through the Swiss Alps along the Simplon Pass, which is the route that the Orient Express takes down to Stresa on Lake Maggiore for a 3-night stay. And as part of the 3 nights there, we include a hop-on, hop-off boat tour to explore the Borromean Islands. Apologies, I think the sound might have cut out there for some of you, so not quite sure at what point you lost me, but it goes to show that we're doing these things live. So just going back to Stresa, first of all, on Lake Maggiore, a 3-night stay there, including a hop-on, hop-off boat tour to explore the Borromean Islands. Then next off, it's on to Lugano for a 2-night stay, and that's including a Lugano food tour. And then we head over to Lake Como, where we stay at Cadenabia on the lake for a 3-night stay in Como before heading back to Zurich and home once again. And what a beautiful place to start. Absolutely breathtaking, isn't it? This is the wonderful Lake Maggiore, the second largest lake in Italy. And as you can see by its surroundings there, it's located south of the Alps. The place where we stay on this particular holiday is the town of Stresa, which is a very, very nice base to explore the lake. It's got many famous buildings, including Villa Pallavicino, which has got amazing extensive gardens and a zoo that you can explore. And another famous local landmark is the very famous luxury hotel, the Grand Hotel des Îles Borromées, where many famous people have stayed over the years. And one of the most famous guests was the author Ernest Hemingway, who stayed there, obviously, a little while ago. On either the second or the third day in Stresa, you have the tour of the Borromean Islands, and you can explore them all by ferry. They're quite small. In fact, you can see a couple of them in the center of the screen there on the lake. And there's a number of different highlights there, I would say. One of which would be Isola Bella, which is home to the Borromeo family palazzo, well worth a visit. And there's also some beautiful botanical gardens on Isola Madre as well. So there's a number of quite small, really beautiful islands to explore, and a really, really, really nice way of spending some time traveling around the lake. And of course, you get some great photos and great views as you're traveling across the lake itself. And next up, it's Lake Lugano, which straddles the Italian and Swiss border. Lugano, the town itself, is actually in Switzerland, and it's got quite a Mediterranean feel to it. In fact, the area is actually Italian speaking, although it's in Switzerland. In Switzerland, of course, they speak a number of different languages, don't they? But you can see, again, just looking at these beautiful pictures there of the lake itself, Lugano is surrounded by mountains, and there's lots and lots of beautiful spots that you can explore along the lake. There are frequent boat trips that you can take that will run across, from Lugano to different parts along the lake, and you can explore some of these small towns, or simply just go on a trip along the lake itself and take in some of that wonderful, beautiful scenery. Absolutely stunning, I think you'll agree. And last but very, very much not least, it is Lake Como. And on this particular holiday, the hotel stay is based in the small resort of Cadenobia on the western shore of the lake. This makes quite a tranquil, quiet base to explore, traveling around. It's very easy, once again, to explore different parts of the lake. There are frequent boat departures that will take you across the lake. So if you want to visit the town of Como itself, for example, that's really, really easy to do. Very, very beautiful old town in Como. It's over 400 years old. My particular favorite part of Como, I think, which I would highly, highly recommend, is there's a small funicular railway that you can take that takes you up to a little town called Brunate, which is high above Como. and you get some wonderful views looking down over Como itself, the lake, but also on a clear day you can see the mountains, see into Switzerland. Really beautiful scenery, and there's a very nice restaurant. There's a couple of restaurants actually that you can have lunch at, looking out over this absolutely stunning view. So I would highly recommend doing that during your time in Como. But three beautiful settings, three beautiful locations on this particular holiday, and obviously they just go together so well, as I think you can see. Is our Lake Garda via the Alps holiday. And this one is 6 days in duration. So here the journey begins with a Eurostar journey from London to Paris, around about 2 hours and 20 minutes. A simple changeover in Paris before taking, once again, a high-speed TGV Lyria train over to Geneva, which is about 3¼ hours in total. We have a one-night stay in Geneva before taking an absolutely beautiful train journey through the Simplon Pass once again, through to Verona, and then changing there, heading on to just a short change over to Sirmione on a Lake Garda for a 4-night stay. 4 nights to explore the lake itself, and then you can either head back to Verona to fly home, or if you prefer, you can travel on from Lake Garda to Turin for a 1-night stopover, and then head back by train, passing through the French Alps this time, from Turin back through to Paris, and then Paris, of course, back through to London. Now, this is the train journey that I was referring to. This is some of the amazing scenery that you'll see as part of that particular journey. Lots and lots of stunning alpine scenery as you pass through the Simplon Pass here. Also, there's some great lakes as well. You actually start off by going around Lake Geneva right at the start, and you get glimpses of Maggiore and Como as well. And then just wonderful greenery, fantastic mountains, alpine scenery, as you can see here, is absolutely stunning. And this is, as I mentioned before, this is the route that the Orient Express takes as it travels from Venice to London. So really beautiful scenery, as I think you can see. And equally beautiful is Lake Garda, of course. And here we are. This is the largest lake in Italy. And our base here in Lake Garda to explore is the town of Sirmione, which is a really nice little promontory that kind of juts out onto the lake, stunning lakeside views. And as with all of these lakeside destinations, really the key to getting the most out of it, I should say, is taking one of the frequent boats for ferries to travel across the lake to explore some of the charming towns that are dotted around it, like Desenzano, Peschiera, and of course, while you're doing that, you get the best views and get to travel across the stunning lake itself. So absolutely beautiful, as I think you will agree, but also we have a really stunning train journey to get there in the first place. So it's kind of got everything you want from a rail holiday, really. A really nice train journey to get to your destination, and then a beautiful destination at the end of it. And next up, we have another holiday to Lake Como, but this time with a difference. This is traveling to Lake Como via the famous Bernina Express. So once again, the journey begins in London. Eurostar over to Paris, and then high-speed TGV Lyria to Zurich, again, around about the 4-hour mark. We have an overnight stay in Zurich in the old town. And then the next day, take the train over to Chur, the oldest town in Switzerland, before taking the famous Bernina Express, which we'll look at in just a second, down to the border town of Tirano, and then heading on to Como for a 3-night stay where we have a private walking tour included while you're in Como to get to know the old town a little bit better, before either then flying back from Milan or heading on by train to Turin, and once again traveling back to Paris and then London from there. So you can either come back by air or by rail, depending on your preferences. And this is the Bernina Express, and this is some of the amazing scenery that you'll see as part of this absolutely fantastic journey as well. The whole route of the train is UNESCO World Heritage listed, which gives you some idea of some of the amazing scenery and views that you'll get to take in, from alpine scenery, beautiful lakes as we can see here. And the train, if you look at the top right, has got these absolutely wonderful panoramic windows, so that wherever you're sat, you get this absolutely amazing view, so you can really take in every inch of the wonderful scenery that's on offer. It really is a miracle of engineering, this particular train journey as well, because the train at its highest point reaches 7,391 feet above sea level, and it ascends that high by means of viaducts and things like that. So it gradually climbs higher and higher and higher and higher. Really, really clever the way it's done, and the scenery really is second to none. So it's possibly, the most beautiful train route in Europe. Certainly one of them at the very, very least, but it might even be the absolute top one. But absolutely stunning scenery, and you get to see parts of Switzerland on this particular train journey that you wouldn't really see any other way. It's pretty much impossible to get to some of these places by car or any other type of transport. So really, it's only by traveling on this train line that's been hewn out of the rocks that you're able to see this UNESCO heritage listed scenery that you pass through. Absolutely stunning. Moving on to a different holiday now. This one is Switzerland's lakes and mountains. So we have lots and lots of great lakes and great mountainside scenery to explore and view on this particular holiday. And this one, again, you can start and finish either by air or rail, depending on what you prefer to do. So you can either fly into Geneva and out of Zurich, or if you prefer, you can take the Eurostar from London to Paris and then travel onwards to Geneva by direct TGV Lyria, and then same on the way back, except via Zurich. Once you arrive into Geneva, whether it's by air or rail, you take a very nice scenic journey around Lake Geneva itself, first of all, some great views there, and spend one night in the resort of Montreux on Lake Geneva. After that, you travel along the very, very scenic Golden Pass line from Montreux to Interlaken, where we have a 2-night stay. And on the second day, you have an excursion to the Jungfraujoch, the highest railway station in Europe, where again there's some absolutely stunning, breathtaking views of the surrounding scenery and far, far beyond too. After leaving Interlaken, you travel down to Brig, where you pick up the famous Glacier Express and travel through some wonderful alpine views once again over to Chur, the oldest town in Switzerland, where you have a 2-night stay, and on the second day you do a day trip on the Bernina Express to and from Tirano, so taking in that breathtaking scenery that we've just looked at a short time ago. And here are some of the wonderful lakes that you would see and stay near on this particular holiday. So starting off here, we've got Lake Thun and Lake Brienz. These are two of the lakes that surround Interlaken. So Interlaken's name literally means between the lakes, and Interlaken as a destination is situated between Lake Thun and Lake Brienz, and you get the wonderful scenery on the lakes on either side, and you can actually use your Swiss Pass, which is part of the rail tickets that you have on this particular holiday, to actually take some boat trips out across the lakes as well, which is absolutely stunning and highly, highly recommended. Also, we got Lake Geneva as well, where you would arrive into the famous jet of water shooting up into the sky that you can see on the bottom left. That's Geneva. And then you would take the train along the lake to Montreux, the beautiful resort of Montreux, where you spend an overnight stay. And a very nice walk, in fact, you can do along the lake from Montreux. It takes you to the building that you can see on the top right of your screen, the Chateau de Chillon, a very famous castle in the Montreux area. It's around about a 20-minute walk along the lake, or you can take a bus or a taxi, obviously, if you prefer. But if you are able to walk, it's a really beautiful stroll around the lake, particularly as the sun starts to set in perhaps the evening or late afternoon. Really, really beautiful way of exploring the lake and the castle in such a beautiful setting. And we looked at the Bernina Express on the last holiday, and here is the Glacier Express which again travels through some absolutely amazing scenery. The name Express really here is a bit of a misnomer because it's got nothing to do with speed. In fact, they call it the slowest express train in the world for that particular reason. The full length of the route is 180 miles in total. And on this particular holiday, you do the vast majority of it. You travel from Brig through to Kur, and then the journey on the Bernina Express that you take from Kur to Zermatt, the first part of that is actually the end of the Glacier Express route as well. So you do pretty much the entire stretch on this particular holiday, taking in some wonderful views, once again, mountains, lakes, etc. The scenery changes really, really frequently. In fact, this is the only direct train that runs on this particular route as well. So once again, you just see some amazing scenery views that you really can't get using any other form of transport. As to which is the best one to do, the Glacier or the Bernina, I think it's really hard to pick one, to be honest. They complement each other very well because they are a little bit different, though. Obviously, both offer mountains, lakes, and so on, amazing scenery, but they are different in terms of the feel of the two journeys. So I think really the only way to decide which is the best is to try for yourself and try both on perhaps on a holiday together like this one, and then you'll be able to say which one is your favorite. But different people have different favorites. What everybody agrees on, I think, is that both of them are absolutely stunning, and you can enjoy a wonderful meal on board as well if you choose to, in the comfort of your seat, taking in some of that wonderful scenery, as you can see the couple doing on the bottom right hand side of the screen. Now, the Jungfraujoch, that's an altogether different experience, this one. It's not actually one train at all, but it's a number of connecting small cogwheel trains that travel from Interlaken at the base of the valley up to the top of the Jungfraujoch mountain. And they travel up through the mountains, stopping off at some small ski resorts. And so you change once at one of these tiny little stations, literally just walking across a platform to the other one just next door, literally just a couple of feet away, and you take one of these small trains, like you can see on the top right, which heads right up the mountain, and then eventually it passes through the heart of the glacier itself, and in fact it will stop at one point and you can get out, and there's some viewing platforms that are carved out into the side of the glacier so you can look outside, and then you carry on all the way to the top. There's a big sign saying welcome to the top of Europe, and you can take the obligatory photo there if you want. And then you get out and you can explore this wonderful viewing platform area that you can see at the bottom right there. And on a clear day, you can see as far as the Black Forest. You can see into France as well. You can see for miles and miles and miles and miles, and it's just wonderful. There's a few birds flying around, and that's it. You're right at the top of all of these mountains, and absolutely beautiful, breathtaking experience. There's an ice palace up there as well, a number of other different activities that you can get up to, restaurants and cafes as well, and you can spend pretty much as long up there as you like as well before heading back down once again. So wonderful, wonderful scenery, completely different experience from the other two train journeys that we've just looked at, and a real chance to visit the top of Europe and take in some of those absolutely amazing views. So next up, we'll look at a different location altogether. So we'll leave Italy and Switzerland behind and head into Slovenia, looking at Lake Bled, and then traveling on into Croatia for our Lake Bled and Croatia holiday. This is a slightly longer one, 12 days in duration here. So this time we don't head over to Paris first of all. We take the Eurostar to Brussels, which is just under the 2-hour mark. And then from Brussels, it's high speed all the way to Munich with a simple change of platforms in Frankfurt, arriving into Munich early evening. We have an overnight stop in Munich before taking, again, quite a nice train journey, this one. We don't really tend to mention it too much, but I quite like this one because you travel along a couple of different rivers as you head through Austria into Slovenia, and it's quite pretty. It's not as absolutely spectacular as some of the others that we've looked at today, but it's quite a pretty one, I think, before we spend 3 nights in Lake Bled itself, where we have a skip-the-line tour of Bled Castle and a scenic cruise on the lake. So you have 3 nights there before moving on to the capital, Ljubljana, which is quite a small destination, very, very easy to explore on foot, very picturesque for a one-night stay. And then carrying on with the second part of that nice journey on across the border into Croatia for a two-night stay in the capital of Zagreb. And we have a city tour included there before heading down to the Adriatic coast and Split for a two-night stay, where we include a walking tour. And then finally finishing up in Dubrovnik, where we have walking tour of the old town, the famous city walls, and tickets for the cable car ride that you can do there as well. So lots and lots of great scenery, lots of fantastic destinations. And this is Lake Bled, where it all begins really on the second day after leaving Munich behind. So Lake Bled, very historic mountain resort, absolutely beautiful alpine scenery surrounding the lake, as you can see. And according to myth and legend, Bled was founded or created by fairies long ago. And I think you kind of get a little sense of that and what people must have thought looking at the surrounding scenery and how absolutely beautiful it is. So a wonderful setting. As I say, we've got skip the line tour of the castle, and you have a trip out on the lake itself, a cruise on the lake included. And here are some of the other great destinations that you get to visit as part of this holiday. So we've got the town of Bled on the top left. Bottom right is the old town in Munich, so a perfect place to enjoy an evening meal on the overnight stopover. And where we spoke about customizing holidays earlier in the webinar, this might be a nice example. If you'd like to spend a couple of nights in Munich, make the holiday a little bit longer, and you can do that if you want. All you need to do is let us know. And on the right-hand side of the screen, two absolutely beautiful Croatian destinations as well. So bottom right, we have Split on the Adriatic Sea. Beautiful seafront areas you can see, and surrounded by the mountains behind it. And one absolutely must-do in Split is to visit Diocletian's Palace, formerly the palace of the Emperor Diocletian, of course. But now there's a variety of shops, restaurants, and a couple of museums too, all located within the palace building. So it's absolutely fascinating to wander around and try and imagine what it must have been like all those years ago. And then top right, you can see the famous city walls of Dubrovnik. Absolutely a must-do, as we have included here, to take a walking tour, including a circuit of the city walls. You get some stunning views once again, both out to sea and also looking over the old town, particularly if the sunlight hits the rooftops, as you can kind of see there at the right angle, that it just reflects off absolutely beautifully. And it's a really, really nice place, the old town, to spend a couple of days. It's really great seafood there as well for anyone who likes seafood. Other meals are available, but it is a great place for anyone who loves seafood. There's lots of great options available, and a great place to visit, pretty much all year round. When I visited Dubrovnik, I went there in November, and it was short sleeve t-shirt weather. As I was wandering around the city walls, very, very, very comfortable indeed, and just that wonderful blue sea, as you can see there, kind of turquoisey colour surrounding as well. Absolutely stunning setting. And I think this is a nice, if you've visited the Italian lakes, you've been to Switzerland before, and you're looking for something a little bit different, this one could be a really nice option, because Lake Bled itself is absolutely stunning, as I think you can see on the previous picture. And then combining it with Croatia works really, really well as well, because over particularly the last year or so, really, we've seen lots of people looking at combining the two, which is why we created this holiday with both on, because it kind of makes sense if you have a little bit more time and you're in that part of the world to visit both destinations, as they're so close together. So there we are. And a couple more bonus holidays to look at, featuring some wonderful lakes once again. If you just fancy a city break, you can visit, for example, Montreux, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, as a city break from the UK. And that would be Eurostar from London to Paris, high-speed train direct to Lausanne on Lake Geneva, and then just a 20-minute hop around the lake by train to Montreux. And then we have a 4-night stay in Montreux, so perfect to explore Lake Geneva, take a boat across the lake, visit the casino, walk around the lake, and visit the Chateau de Chillon. Lots and lots of things that you can get up to there. So if it's a city break you fancy, then that might be a nice way of doing it. And of course, if you'd like to travel in absolute style in the lap of luxury, then we've combined a trip on the famous Venice Simplon Orient Express with stays in Lake Garda and Lake Como. So if you'd like to relax by the Italian lakes before or after a trip traveling back in time on board the Venice Simplon Orient Express, then this might be a great option to choose, especially maybe to celebrate that special occasion you've got coming up. And for anyone who is thinking about it, it really is a special trip. It is like traveling back to the golden age of rail travel, the golden age of travel itself, perhaps, but really, really special. So lots and lots of different options, whatever the duration, whatever the type of trip you're looking for, whether it's a luxury break, a city break, a longer holiday, whatever it might be, lots of great ideas there. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. So we're always keen to know where you'd like to plan your next holiday to, where you're thinking of going. You know, it could be that you're looking for some inspiration from us. Maybe you'd like to know what destinations you could combine with somewhere you'd like to visit, what kind of holiday we'd recommend, or you just fancy letting us know, whatever it might be. We'd love to know where you're planning on traveling to and what time of year it is that you're thinking of going. Why not use the questions box that you can see on the screen to let us know? Also, if you'd like to let us know where you'd like us to feature on forthcoming webinars, then that would be great to hear as well. So if there's destinations you'd like us to talk about on a future webinar, the forum is yours. So please do let your voice be heard. And as always, we look forward to hearing from you. Got a couple of customer testimonials here, really, just to outline how when you book with Railbookers, we take care of the entire holiday for you. Once you've booked the trip, you just have to sit back, relax, and wait for travel itself. I must take this moment as well to say thank you to everybody on this webinar who voted for us for one of the many awards we were nominated for last year, with a special thanks to anyone who voted for us in the British Travel Awards, when we were very happy to be awarded the Best Rail Holiday Company, the overall winner in that category. So thank you very much to anyone and everyone who voted for us. A reminder of our website, railbookers.co.uk, is where you can find all of the holidays that we've looked at today and many more as well. A number of different ways that you can search. You can be searching by destination, by the type of holiday. You know, you can search by lakes and mountains, for example, as we've done today. You can search for luxury train journeys. You can search by map. Lots and lots of different ways of finding whatever it is that you're looking for. And if you'd like to order one of our 2020 Railbookers brochures, you can do that via the website. But as you're on the webinar right now, if you do want one, it might be easier just to use the questions box online and let us know which one you want, and we can get one across to you. We've got our main Railbookers brochure that's got a selection of our top-selling holidays included in Europe, North America, and beyond. Our sister company, Amtrak Vacations, which has a number of different rail holidays across North America. And if it's Canada that's of interest, well, you might like our Via Rail Vacations brochure, which has some great holiday ideas of different parts of Canada, from coast to coast journeys, traveling through the Canadian Rockies, the French-speaking parts. We've got the Rocky Mountaineer in there as well, Toronto, Niagara Falls. Everything is included. Lots and lots of great ideas there. So again, if you'd like a copy, why not use the questions box on the screen and let us know. Now, some dates for your diary. We've got some more upcoming webinars coming up in the not too distant future. 4th and the 6th of August, we've got some bucket list luxury train holidays. So, you know, for a special occasion, a luxury trip, if either of those ideas float your boat, that could be a good one to attend. On the 11th and 13th of August, if you fancy traveling closer to home, we have our top 5 holidays within the UK to take this year. And on the 18th and 20th of August, top 7 rail holidays traveling via the Alps. So some really great scenic ideas on that one, some really great scenic journeys heading through the Swiss Alps. So lots and lots of great ideas about some different themes coming up over the next few weeks. Okay, so we're nearly at the end of the webinar. I promised I would give you a reminder that if you haven't downloaded those handouts, the map of Europe and so on, and you would like to, then now's the time. Right, before we do, let's just see if we can maybe have a look at your questions that have come through, and maybe we'll have time to answer one or two if there's a straightforward, simple one or two that we can maybe pick to answer now. Let's have a look. Okay, so I see there's quite a few questions that have come through. Thank you to everyone who submitted them. A reminder that we won't be able to answer all of them right now, but we will get in touch with absolutely all of you to answer all of your questions. So thank you so much for sending them through. Got a few people asking for copies of brochures. We'll send those across to you. A few people also asking, can we get a copy of today's presentation? Yes, we can. We can definitely do that. And see, that's just come through from Alan and from a few other people as well. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, everybody else. We'll send you details of how you can get a copy of the presentation. We'll record one of the webinars today, and we'll send you a copy of the presentation that you can look through. Very, very easy to do that for you, no problem. Okay, let's see if we can pick an easy question. Lots of people letting us know where they'd like to travel to. That's fantastic. Some great ideas I can see coming through here. Okay. Yes, we have a question from Maureen. This is quite a straightforward one to finish with, I think. So Maureen's question is that the holidays look great. I've not traveled by train over to any of these destinations in Europe before. How much luggage can I take with me? Is it the same as when you travel to the airport? So great question, Maureen. Thanks very much for that one. And the answer to that one, Maureen, is that it's not quite the same as when you fly. It's much better in terms of how much luggage you can take with you. The official guidelines from Eurostar, which is where all of these holidays would begin, of course, is that you can take 2 items of luggage per person plus 1 item of hand luggage. And I don't think I certainly couldn't carry much more than that. So pretty much the answer is if you can look after it and are happy transporting it with you, then you can pretty much take as much as you want. The other good news, Maureen, is that there's no weight restriction. So if you're planning on, doing some shopping, bringing back some souvenirs for family, friends, for your presents for yourself, whatever it is that you might have bought, reminders of your holiday while you're over in the destination, you can do. No one's going to weigh your luggage on the way back and say you've gone over the baggage limit or anything like that. So as long as you're happy looking after it, essentially you can take pretty much as you want, is the answer to that one. So thank you for that question. A good one, as it applies to obviously all of the holidays that we featured here and many, many others too. Thanks so much to everyone else who submitted all of your other questions. As I say, the team will be getting back to you in the next day or so to answer all of those. Thank you also to everyone who's told us where they're looking at traveling to, what they'd like us to cover in future webinars, asking for brochures and other things as well. Lots and lots of great great questions, great feedback there. So thank you to absolutely everybody for that. And really, as we've been finishing off these webinars over the last few months, all of these pictures here, this is myself and the rest of the team when we all moved back home, or to work from home, I should say, back in March, which seems a long time ago now. We're nearly at the end of July, incredibly, aren't we? And it was a bit of an uncertain time for lots and lots of reasons. Obviously, as much as anything, we were getting used to working from home, wondering how that was going to work. But a lot has changed, obviously, since that time, and we're now able to slowly start traveling to some destinations around Europe, and perhaps there are signs that life is slowly starting to inch back to somewhere near normal, which is good news. So really, our message to you is whether you're looking at booking a holiday for this year, whether it's late summer holiday at the end of the year, or looking at traveling next year, whenever it might be, whenever you're ready to look at your next holiday, we're still here and we're ready too. And last but not least, thank you very much for joining me on the webinar today. It's been a pleasure to have you with me. I hope you found it useful and entertaining, and we've looked at some absolutely beautiful destinations. I think you can agree. It's always nice to be able to take some time to dream together and think of some of the wonderful places that there are around the world that we might get to visit at some point. I hope you are all safe and well. Please do remain that way. Very, very important. Please do look after yourselves. Stay safe, stay well, stay healthy. Have a great rest of the day, great afternoon, enjoy it. And who knows, maybe I'll have the pleasure of your company on another webinar in the not too distant future. Thank you.